Good day, everyone. Today is Thursday, 4th of July 2024. Nnamdi Kanu agreed to abide by negotiated terms, not by conditions set by Tinubu government for his release, Ejimakor clarifies. Yesterday, there have been a lot of rumors that Nnamdi Kanu have complied with the condition that the federal government is giving him. So when you hear that Nnamdi Kanu have been abide or he has complied with the condition federal government gave him, in other words, it means like someone is succumbing to the condition of one party. So the counsel to Nnamdi Kanu, barrister Ejimakor, has come out to clarify it that Nnamdi Kanu did not abide to the condition given by the federal government. However, that Nnamdi Kanu has agreed in negotiated terms with the federal government. However, the negotiated terms have not made known to the journalists or to the public. Like, what are the terms? Maybe they will tell him, do not do rande, do not go with crowd. But one thing is sure, nobody can stop Nnamdi Kanu not agitate for Biafra again, of which is a fundamental human right. So I don't believe that Nnamdi Kanu will also negotiate what is his fundamental human right to give it away. So many people, when you are talking about the issue of referendum, secession, and self-determination, they fail to understand that these things are fundamental human rights, that it is not a crime. But because we are in a country where the rule of law is not being respected, so people think that, oh, when you are agitating, it's a crime. When you are this, it's a crime. But it is not, absolutely. So this is an article from Shara Reporters. After this article, we are going to still go into the details of the video by barrister Kenneth Okonkwo, talking about the situation of Nigeria, how Boko Haram, the number 2 terrorists in the whole world, how they will be forgiven, induct them into military, do all sort of things for them, equip their family, even some of them, they give them house. Why someone that court has set free is still in detention, that the federal government is biased. It's a very interesting video. But before that, let's go through this article from Shara Reporter. And it reads, Nnamdi Kanu agreed to abide by negotiated terms, not by condition, set by Tinubu government for his release. Barrister Ejimakor clarifies. The article was written July 3rd, 2024. And it reads, Barrister Ejimakor, special counsel to the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra ipob, Nnamdi Kanu, has said that Kanu did not agree to abide by any condition set by President Bola Tinubu administration for his release. He said Kanu only agreed to abide by negotiated terms of his release as he is ready to negotiate with the Nigerian government and come to a well-negotiated and mutually agreed terms for his release from detention. Shara Reporters earlier reported that Senator Ejimakor Baribe, who is representing Abia South Senatorial District, on Wednesday, after a meeting between Southeast senators and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, on Kanu's release, said the IPOB leader had agreed to comply with the conditions set by President Tinubu-led Nigerian government for his release. So, out of context, it is Ejimakor Baribe was the one that told the journalists that Kanu has agreed with the terms of the federal government, but Barrister Ejimakor is coming out to clarify it. Led by Senator Abaribe, approximately 15 federal lawmakers participated in the closed-door meeting. Senator Abaribe, speaking on behalf of his colleague after the meeting, expressed optimism that the Attorney General will influence the federal government to consider releasing Kanu. He emphasized that Kanu's prolonged detention was contributing to heightened insecurity and unrest in the Southeast region. Senator Baribe disclosed that he had personally met with Kanu at the Department of State Service DSS headquarters, where Kanu expressed the readiness to comply with any conditions set by the government for his release. But Ejimakor told Shara Reporters that whereas it is true that Senator Abaribe met with Kanu on Monday and had robust discussion with him, the right context of Kanu's meeting, the lawmaker, was that he will abide by negotiated terms of his release, not any condition thrown at him by the government. Ejimakor said the legal team met with Nnamdi Kanu today. The news that he will abide by any condition for his release is not correct. What was meant is that he will abide by the negotiated terms of his release and on other matters related thereto, such as was also agreed in August 2017. He also told Shara Reporters that Kanu legal team was also gearing up for discussion and negotiation with the Nigerian government to reach mutually agreed terms for Kanu's release, as the government cannot just throw up any condition and expect compliance. Ejimakor added, this is a political matter and whatever condition for Nnamdi Kanu's release will have to be negotiated, like what was happening in August 2017 before his house was invaded. The right wording is that Kanu will abide by negotiated terms, not by any condition. So this is what Ejimakor is clarifying. And when you look at it, you will understand that it was a misconception from what Abaribe said. You cannot just come out and say someone is going to abide by any condition. Any condition of what? Are you going to kill the person? So remember that in 2017, when they released Nnamdi Kanu still abided with negotiated terms before the army came to his house and invaded his house. So when they mean negotiated terms, maybe they will ask him, before the court process will finish, do not do rande, don't do this, don't do that. Just these are the negotiated terms that they had in 2017. Yesterday on Arise News, Barrister Kenneth Okocha said something that is very important about the release of Nnamdi Kanu.
Let's start, with the Southeast Governors meeting. What are your thoughts on their resolve to meet with President Bola Tinubu over Nnamdi Kanu's predicament?
Well, basically, political issues and political prisoners have always been treated in a very different way from the ordinary criminals on the road. When you are in government, you have to display a lot of wisdom in handling political issues. I'll give you an example. United States had already cornered Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder, who they accused of leaking some classified document that embarrassed United States. But they also realized that they had to make a balance between free speech, between the freedom of journalists, and trying to bring a journalist to trial. They know that Russia is holding some of their citizens who are journalists, and they are trying to bring espionage charge against them. Knowing this, they know that even if they bring this man to the United States, they will still, face some backlash. They now went through wisdom and did a plea bargain and released this man from jail and allowed him to get back to Australia. Nnamdi Kanu has not done anything that other people from other zones have not done. We know about Sunday Igboho, of the Yoruba nation agitator. We know of the Boko Haram people that say they want a different country where Western education is an abomination. These people have been released. Not just that they have been released. In the case of Boko Haram, they've been re-assimilated to the society, given plum jobs, even in our military. They've been given money and been resuscitated, reconciled, and rehabilitated. Why is Nnamdi Kanu's case different? There is an ethnic and some unnecessary bias that is keeping that man in jail. The government should be wise enough to release this man. You can use the Julian Assange option. If you don't want to say you are losing face, you can release him conditionally. You can release him unconditionally. As a lawyer, I've watched the legal issues very clearly. And I saw that even in the courts, from the High Court to the Supreme Court, there are discordant tones amongst them. Even in the issue of bail, some of the tier of the courts have granted him bail. Even in the issue of the charges, some tier of the court had quashed all the charges. So you can see that the government has a lot of places it can stand to release the young man and bring peace to the Southeast. He is now more like a political prisoner. I tell you something, the longer Nnamdi Kanu is in prison, the taller he becomes, and the shorter the government becomes. They should take the intelligent way out of this and release him like they did to other people. Rehabilitate him and reconcile him as they are reconciling Southeast completely to the nation.
I'm glad you brought up that Julian Assange case because analysts have been looking into the similarities between these two cases. And what stuck out with me majorly is the fact that Nnamdi Kanu fled bail back in 2017, much like Julian Assange. But what it seems right now is it's more of a political situation with Nnamdi Kanu. With Julian Assange, it seemed that the potentness or the pungentness of his crimes seemed to deteriorate as the world grew and as time went on and more leaks like this happened. In the case of Nnamdi Kanu, some could argue that him staying in jail, of course it's unfortunate, but him being released would also lead to some unintended consequences in terms of an escalation of violence. This is allegedly, etc., and the reigniting of his followers who seem to be scattered all over the world and seem to be a bit of a thorn in the flesh of individuals who have been suffering the sit-at-home orders and all the other violence that has come about. How will they be able to balance those two equations of keeping him in jail, which is worse, keeping him in jail or letting him out and potential violence escalating? What are your thoughts on that?
My thought is this. I brought the Julian Assange issue just to tell you that the government can use wisdom and bring about situation where they will tell him, you've spent so and so time in detention. Let us count it for you as any punitive measure for whatever they may say he had done. Allow him to plea to any minor offense that will suit that number of times he has already stayed and release him. That's why I brought the Julian Assange. That's wisdom. Then secondly, you can release him conditionally and tell him, look, this will bring crisis if we release you. No responsible government will say, let us release you when we have not gotten a commitment from you that you will no longer go along this line. The young man had said that he is willing to negotiate, that he is willing to talk. So you talk to him, that is releasing him conditionally. Then the third one is releasing him unconditionally. So you have a choice, but the three of them will land in releasing him. The most important thing is that the government checks the cost-benefit analysis in whatever it is doing. And I can tell you that the benefit of releasing him, if you can make him to get commitment on what you want him to do after releasing him, will be better than keeping him. Because keeping him has not solved the security situation in the southeast. It has not stopped the agitation. As a matter of fact, it is making even the agitation to now be multifaceted, to now be unknown. That's why you hear the unknown gunmen. So it's more difficult to tackle. So releasing him, in my own opinion, will be better off now than keeping him. The benefit of releasing him will be better than the cost. So you negotiate with him, know the best option, and release him.
Now, Mr. Okonkwo, talking about the issue of security, the governors also resolved to tackle insecurity in the southeast. But that's a bit vague when we consider what's been happening in that region over the years. So what measures would you advise must be taken by the governors, the federal government, to tackle insecurity in southeast Nigeria?
I've always said, I'm sorry to say it, that the governors can only make promises, but they do not have what it takes to enforce their promise. That's why I'm talking about state police. Because the police we have now answers to the Inspector General of Police and answers to the federal government. So no matter their plan, no matter their opinion, no matter the objective they have to tackle insecurity, it is still subject to the efficiency and effectiveness of the national police, which is outside the purview of their power. So the best way this federal government can tackle insecurity at the regional and state levels is to grant state police to the states, amend the constitution. People always talk about abusing state police. Let me state it clearly here, that I am not assuring anybody that some governors will not abuse state police. They will. And the reason is because the federal government abuses federal police at times. Is it not with the federal police that they use to rig election? Is it not with the federal police that they use to do certain things? So that the mere fact that some state governors will abuse state police will not be the reason you will say the right thing should not be done. Because the abuse we are getting now from kidnappers, from terrorists, from rapists, from unknown gunmen, from all those people are more than what any state governor can use state police to abuse the people in. And let me tell you, when the government is acting, the people have recourse to the law to seek redress. When outlaws are acting, the people have no recourse to claim any damage or to even stop them from doing anything. So they will just be dying for nothing. So the abuse that the state governors will subject the state police to is very much better than the abuse we are receiving from the outlaws, from the terrorists, kidnappers, from the armed robbers, and from assaulters of integrity and the personality of human beings. So they should be giving state police. Then again, the Southeast governors, they should cooperate, because the landmass of the Southeast is not so much. So whoever does any crime in Enugu can sneak into Ebonyi, to Abia. And if they do not cooperate, they won't be able to trace the criminals within the regional level. The state level will be too small for them to operate. So it's good for them to cooperate to eliminate the threat of insecurity. The unknown gunmen are known. It is only an inefficient government that will be attributing insecurity to unknown gunmen. Please, is there any criminal that brings himself to advertise himself when he wants to commit crime? Every criminal wants to be unknown. So the mere fact that you're saying things are committed by unknown gunmen, you are actually displaying your incompetence. So there is nothing that is committed by an unknown person. It is committed by a criminal. They should, through competence and cooperation, hunt down these criminals so that the Southeast people, who are traders and travelers by nature, will be able to carry out their functions for their livelihood.
Fair enough. But in your discussion, it seems that the state police versus the way it is now is a choice between the lesser of two evils. But I want to discuss the governors and the negotiating capacity of these Southeast governors and their ability to work together, as you have just pointed out, in order for any kind of economic prosperity to move along, in order for the insecurity to get checked. There needs to be communication and collaboration between all of them. What is the likelihood with this crop, this new crop of Southeast governors, in your opinion?
I'm not sure I got your last question because the line was cracking a little bit.
I can repeat it. In terms of cooperation with the Southeast governors, how likely and how effective do you think that will be, especially with this particular group of Southeast governors that are in power right now at the helm of those other 5 governors who met in Enugu for the Southeast governors meeting?
Well, obviously, from the picture of what we saw, they projected reasonable level of unity, because I saw all the governors present. They did not send any delegate. So all of them were present. At least pictorially, that is an exhibition of unity. Then again, they do not have a choice. They have to work together. Like I said, before anything happens, the landmass of the Southeast is not that much. It's not elaborate. So somebody can strike in Enugu, and in 30 minutes or less, he's already in another state. So if you make a rigid boundary, then the criminals will be getting away with their crimes because they will be sneaking into other states. So they don't really have a choice. And their cooperation is very, very easy because the shared cultural is monocultural, is monolingual, is monoethnic. So everything that affects one state affects the other. So it is easy to cooperate. And again, they come from different political parties, not one, not two. So their diversity will compel them to cooperate. So the issue here is that the level of insecurity in Southeast is much. And no state has monopoly of the violence. They cross border to other states. What is happening in Anambra may just be coming from Imo State. What's happening in Imo State may be coming from Abia. So there must be cooperation if they will succeed. And I believe, from what I saw, knowing that their existential threat is now very, very major and affects all of them, I believe they will come together to find solution to the problem. But the government, federal government, has to empower them. It will be very unnatural to think that a tier of government will succeed when they have the power to make laws, but they don't have the agency to enforce their laws. This is why it is inevitable, as it happens in other climes. In America, even the local government has its own police. So any tier of government that has the power to make laws must have the power and the agency to enforce those laws. Otherwise, it will be giving somebody responsibility without giving him authority to perform. In management, there must be parity of authority and responsibility before objectives are achieved. If authority is more than responsibility, it leads to abuse of power. If responsibility is more than authority, it leads to lack of performance. There has to be parity in this. For now, the state governments have only responsibility to keep peace in their states, but they don't have the authority to execute and bring about that peace. That authority should be given to them in the name of state police.
Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, recently, we had news that some northern senators and cattle breeders are against the passing of the anti-open grazing bill, saying it is against their freedom to reside anywhere in Nigeria, as stated by Section 42 of the 1999 Constitution. I'd like you to react to this.
First of all, that is a misinterpretation of the Constitution. The Constitution said any Nigerian citizen has the right to reside in any part of Nigeria and has the freedom of movement. As a matter of fact, the law is very clear that animals are not given the freedom to roam about, because animals are known to either destroy lives or destroy livelihoods. So when you talk about cattle, when you talk about herbivorous animals, you're talking about animals that destroy livelihoods. Rearing animals and planting crops, these are the two sides of agriculture. It will be, I'm sorry to say it, it will be insensitive for anybody to think you'll be growing in your quest for agrarian revolution by using one set of agriculture to destroy the other set. Cattle and herbivorous animals eat up plants. You need plants, you need animals for your food. So saying you will allow the cattle to eat up the plants is actually being unwise, because you are destroying agriculture thinking you are improving it. Now, the issue of banning the open grazing, I am really very shocked that any human being in the 21st century will even open his mouth to say you will allow these young, beautiful children to be following animals from Maiduguri to Port Harcourt, from Sokoto to Lagos, trekking through the forest, where they will be drugged, where they will be brainwashed, where they will be traumatized and terrorized, without option of going to school. And you're saying your own children will be going to the best of schools, and the children of the poor and less privileged will be condemned perpetually to live in forests, in terrorist-infected forests, to trek with animals. You have reduced these children to the level of animals. I can tell you, hardly will any child move from Maiduguri to Port Harcourt trekking in Nigeria today without meeting one kind of Waterloo or the other, or without coming out becoming a terrorist himself. All the crimes that are being committed in Nigeria today are committed in the forest. And then, what is the security of the cattle in itself, because the cattle will end up being rustled by the terrorists. There is no more safety in the forest as it used to be. And these children are entitled to go to school. They are not entitled to be condemned to become animals. And when you allow animals to pass through the cities, we are talking about cholera. Cholera is the filthiness and the contamination of the water you drink by basically the feces of animals and human beings being defecated in open place. We are talking about human beings defecating in open place, but we're talking about animals freely defecating in open place when you allow this open grazing. And then rain will fall and wash them into the streams, which some of these people drink, and even some of the water the people drink, and it will cause cholera. In this modern time, anti-grazing law is not only immediate, should not only be immediate, but should be immediately done and agreed by everybody. What are they saying? They didn't say they are banning you from being a pastoralist. They simply said you should organize it in a manner that those children will be tending to their animals, going to school, and it's not constituting a nuisance to the people and to themselves.
Well,
even the animals themselves, they don't even come out better when they do all those trekking. So anti-grazing law is not only that it is acceptable, it should be done.
Well said.
It is wicked to allow children who should be in school to be in the forest.
Mr. Okonkwo, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but we have extended our time. You have made a lot of very relevant points. It is always great to have you as a guest on our program. Thank you so much for joining us today on News.